Hello, hello.
Good morning. How's everybody?
Well, thank you.
Good, good.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, we waiting on. All right. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Delvin, how you doing, sir?
All right, all right. Just so everyone will know. I mean, if you saw the agenda, you're probably aware we're doing the annual meeting first. We'll then close that out. Then I'll go into the regular meeting. Um, with that being said, call to order. I do believe I have all of the commissioners online. I'm still trying to figure out their screen, so but I saw the names. New business for today. The first item for us to act on is a resolution amending the housing authority bylaws. Um, I don't have that on my screen right now, but does anyone have any? And that's to I know most notably strike the restrictions required for uh, commissioner appointments to specific duties within the board. Does anyone have any questions regarding the changes made or the amendment? Okay. If not, I'll take a motion to approve resolution 2020-32 at this time.
Chairman, I move that we accept the amendments to the bylaw.
Second.
I think Dick seconded.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Can't hear you, Dick.
I didn't. I can't see it on my screen. Did he second? I'd like to move forward, but I need to make sure we have that second recorded. I didn't hear it.
Dick, thumbs up. Did you?
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 If there are any no's, the motion carries. All right. Second item we have for new business is act on a resolution for ratifying the selection of Huntsville Housing Authority's executive director. That's resolution 2020-33. If there are no concerns regarding us ratifying the resolution appointing Mr. McGinnis as the executive director, there are no questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we ratify the selection
Since y'all
of
ain't
Mr.
changed your mind.
McGinnis.
Commissioner Bolte has moved that we ratify.
Okay.
I would like to second, Commissioner. So,
Is that a second, Dr. Smith?
yes, sir. That's a second for me.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Are there any nays? Resolution carries. All right. Most exciting part on this list is the election of officers. I'm sorry. I hope y'all can't see my excitement right now. But obviously, annually, we do a selection of officers. Currently, I'm the chair. So what we're looking for is candidates for vice, for chair and vice. So up first would be the chair. So at this time, I'll entertain recommendations for chairman for the next year for Housing Authority.
Can you hear me now, Delvin?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, I got you on my cell phone. I'm sorry, I was having problems with the audio on my computer, but I'd like to have a nomination. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Dale Smith for chairman for the coming year.
Okay. I have a nomination for Dr. Smith as the chairman for the coming year. Is there a concerns or a second for that motion?
Well, I certainly don't have any concerns, and I'd like to second it if available. Yep.
Hey, don't I have to agree to the nomination?
All right, we have a nomination
I'm just joking. I'll accept.
No,
To make a
no, sir.
make a campaign speech.
I guess, you know what, I should probably ask you, are you in agreement with the nomination, sir?
Yeah, but you were gonna vote before I did anything, weren't you? I'm gonna give it for it. Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Appreciate the nomination.
Certainly welcome.
All right. With that being said, I have a nomination. All those in of Dr. Smith taking the helm at chairman of the board at this time, without any questions or concerns, can I get a yay?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Okay. All right. Secondly, the second officer position that we need to fill is the vice chair position. Currently, that was Dr. Smith, who now moved into the chairman position. At this time, I'll take recommendations for vice chair.
Yes,
Commissioner
I
Stoll?
would like to nominate someone. I would like to nominate Jim Bolte.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Willie. Any others?
I'll second nomination.
Okay, Mr. Bolte, we have a recommendation and a second. Do you have any concerns or issues with becoming the vice chair?
No, Mr. Chairman, I don't. And I want to thank Commissioner Willie for that nomination. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. With that acceptance, I'll take a motion to appoint Mr. Bolte as the vice chair at this time.
Aye.
Yeah, I move that we appoint Commissioner Wilkie as vice chair now.
Could you say that again, Dr. Smith?
Yeah, I was just gonna put a motion on the table to appoint Commissioner Wilkie as vice chair.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Are there any nays? Okay. God, excuse me. I'm trying to get my agenda back on the screen. With that being said, that meeting, the annual meeting, is adjourned. We will now start the regular meeting. As I stated earlier, we have all commissioners in place. At this time, if you all had a chance to look at last month's meeting notes, if you have any questions or concerns, please express those. If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval for last month's meeting notes.
I move that we approve last month's Housing Authority meeting notes, meeting minutes.
I will second it.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Are there any nays? Okay. We don't have any old business and new business for this meeting. I'll turn it over to Mr. McGinnis.
Thank you, sir. We're going to dive right into this. First of all, I want to thank everybody again for being on the call today. Definitely appreciate you all being here. We're going to turn it over to Teresa Wade at this time.
Good afternoon. Financial services, our first item on the agenda is Clifton Larson Allen presentation of the audit for the period ended 3/31/2020. I will turn over the floor now to Mandy Hagan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting us to present today the results of the audit for fiscal year 2020. You all should have received a copy of our presentation ahead of time. If not, I think, Justin, you're going to present it on the screen if possible, because it'll take me way too long to figure that out. Maybe. But does everyone have a copy of it? Okay, great. So I'll get started as you kind of, oh, there you go. All right, so in addition to having a copy of the presentation, you should also have a copy of the financial statements and the letter of those charged with governance to kind of read alongside this. So I'm going to start it out and then turn it over to Justin. So we're going to turn to the next page. Just for everyone who doesn't know Clifton Larson Allen, or CLA, we are the 8th largest accounting firm in the country. We do serve roughly 50 housing authority clients across the country. It is something that the team, me, Justin, and Will do on a full-time basis. So here's just a couple stats for you if you're kind of curious who we were, in case you weren't familiar with us. We're going to go to the next page. So the engagement team. Obviously myself here first. Justin Measley is on here also. He's going to present the rest of the presentation. He's the manager. And then Will Jazowski, he's also on the call also. He is in charge and been on the engagement for the past 2 years. And then Christy Butler, who is not present on this call, but she was the associate that worked on this engagement too. So I'm going to turn it over to Justin to kind of dive more into the engagement scope.
All right. Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? All right. I see shaking heads. So that's good. So it's nice to see everyone again. Unfortunately, obviously, not able to do this in person right now. I think the last 3 or so years, I've been able to come on site and present to the board in person. This year was kind of an interesting year with us being a fully remote audit. In the past, we've been able to come on site for about a week. But this year, because of everything going on with COVID-19, we did move to a fully remote audit. We normally thank the staff on the back end of the presentation, but I just wanted to kind of quickly do a huge thanks to Teresa, Paula, and their staff for making this an extremely smooth transition. It's kind of up in the air for the first year being fully remote, but I think overall the audit was very smooth. And a pretty seamless transition. So just a huge thank you to the staff on the front end for kind of taking a bad situation and being able to kind of get the audit done. Just, still presenting in August is awesome to be able to kind of keep with your normal timeline. So huge kudos to the entire authority staff that helped with that. So moving on to the engagement scope. Our scope hasn't really changed over the years, so we're still issuing 3 reports for you all. The first one is our independent auditors report. That's pretty much a report over the financial statements themselves. That's us pretty much saying that based on the procedures that we performed, that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. We did not have any exceptions with that, so it was considered, I guess, a clean report. So huge kudos to the finance staff for that. Our second report is the Government Auditing Standards Report, also known as a GAS report. And that's really our report over your internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance. So with that, that's us testing the internal controls that are in place, looking at payroll, disbursements, rent collection, making sure that controls are in place and operating effectively. And we didn't have any issues with that report either. The third report that we issue is really the report over major federal programs. So every year we do rotate the federal program that's tested just based on the federal expenditures in any given year. Your agency has three Type A programs that we rotate through. Last year was public housing and the capital fund program, and this year was the Section 8 housing choice voucher program. And we'll discuss that report in a little bit more detail later on in the presentation. All right, so moving on. So when we talk about your financial statements, what we're really talking about is that independent auditors report we discussed earlier, the management discussion analysis, or MD&A. That MD&A we're going to do a very high level review of in a few slides, but that's really just management's discussion or conversation on what really happened this year. What were the significant changes? So we're going to highlight some of those during this presentation. The financial statements, the basic financial statements, so that'd be your balance sheet, your income statement, your cash flows, and then the related footnotes. And we'll do a high-level review of some of your significant disclosures in a little bit. The supplementary information of Huntsville Housing Authority are your financial data schedules. That's really the REACT submission where it's breaking it out by the programs themselves. And then included this year, you'll see your corrective action plan related to the single audit and the summary schedule of prior audit findings. That summary schedule of prior audit findings is a required report, and that is basically a summary of last year's exception that was related to Section 3 reporting and us basically documenting where that stands now. So that finding was cleared during fiscal year 20. So it's a really short report that basically says last year there was a finding, this year corrective action was taken, and that's just closed out this year. All right, so moving on, we're going to do a high-level review of the MD&A. So I'm going to actually, so if you have the PowerPoint, a copy of it, I'd encourage kind of keeping open that this statement of net position or this balance sheet. And I'm just going to go over some of the high-level changes or the more significant changes on the following slide. So your current assets increased 0.8 million. That was really primarily due to cash. There was an increase of 0.7 million in cash. About half of that was restricted cash, so obviously restricted for use, and the rest of that was within the public housing program. There wasn't really a significant reason for that. It was really more of a timing concern, or timing is what caused that. As far as non-current assets, they did decrease by 0.4 million, and that was just primarily related to capital assets net of depreciation. So your current capital asset activity, there was 1.4 million in current year additions, and then there was 1.8 million in current year depreciation expense. So a non-cash transaction, which resulted in that net increase of 0.4 million. And then the last significant change, just to kind of highlight, was related to non-current liabilities. They did decrease 0.5 million, and that was really just related to the retirement of debt this year. All right, not sure if there's any questions for me yet, or if I should just kind of keep on going through for now. So just keep on going through. All right, so this is your statement of revenue, expenses, and changes in net position, or your income statement. So I'm going to go through this next slide. We really just highlighted two major changes this year. Overall, for fiscal year 20, it was a pretty consistent year. We didn't really see any significant changes. I think looking forward in fiscal year 21, there likely will be a lot of changes as far as it relates to COVID. But since you guys cut off at 3/31, it was really before all of that really took place. So for the current year, operating grants increased approximately 2 million. That was primarily due to two programs. There was a 1.3 million increase in the Housing Choice Voucher Program operating grants, and a $500,000 increase in public housing in comparison to the prior year. And then when we look at operating expenses, you'll see that they increased approximately 1.6 million. A large chunk of that, 1.1 million of it, was due to an increase in HAP, which is consistent with the increase in the operating grant funding. The remainder of that increase was primarily due to administrative expenses, pretty much across the board. There wasn't a specific area we saw that increased way more than any other area. All right. All right. And then as far as the significant disclosures, so your footnotes that we'd like to highlight, your summary of accounting policies or summary of significant accounting policies. There weren't any changes in accounting policies for the current year. So those disclosures are going to be consistent with the prior year. The authority does have 2 discretely presented component units. So that would be your Huntsville Senior and your 360 properties. If you were looking at the financial statements for the current year, you'll see within the basic financial statements, there's a second column next to the business type activities that has that discretely presented component unit activity. And there's also a separate page that shows the breakout of those 2 entities. And that's activity as of 12/31/2019. Those are separately audited by us as of 12/31/19. So that information is pretty much just pulled into the report as of 3/31. So other significant disclosures would be your cash and cash equivalents, capital asset activity for the current year, which we already kind of went over, your notes receivable from your actually related parties from 360, your long-term debt, your ground leases. I believe there are 2, Bryant Bank and Twickenham Square, that are disclosed. And then there also is a new disclosure this year that was included related to COVID-19. It's just a brief blurb that COVID-19 occurred. And basically stating that there are some uncertainties with that, just, as far as tenant collection, just changes in the market. So that is just a pretty blanket disclosure, just kind of acknowledging that it is something that occurred, and the kind of conclusion or the results of that are unknown as of now. All right. So moving on, this is sort of a data analytic piece that we do for you every year. It's pretty high level, but just wanted to kind of show you guys sort of your 2 programs, 2 major programs at least. So the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So what this is showing is your admin revenue, which is this blue line here, and then your admin expenses. Just showing consistency, as the revenues are increasing, the expenses are increasing with it. And you're going to see that also with the HAP side, or the restricted side for the program as well. As the HCV HAP revenue increased, the HAP expenses are increasing as well pretty consistently. And that was actually kind of highlighted earlier when we talked about the income statement, just that, with the significant increase in the HCV funding, the expenses also increased. All right. And then here we just showed public housing. In general, just showing that the revenues are actually exceeding the expenses, which is great for your portfolio. Just kind of showing that, your expenses aren't exceeding the revenues. And that's been consistent for the last 5 years. All right. So moving on to the single audit report, which were the 2 reports I mentioned earlier, that gas report and that uniform guidance report. So on the far right-hand side, I'm actually gonna go right to left. The far right side, the financial statements, which was that gas report, we did not have any issues or any findings. With the Section 8 voucher program that we tested this year, we did have 1 finding, which numbered finding 2020-001, which is considered a significant deficiency, and that's related to HQS enforcement. So what that means is we tested 40 files this year, so we don't look at everything. We look at 40 inspections that occurred during the year that had a failed inspection, and out of those 40, we did have 1 exception related to the follow-up or the termination of the HAP payment. Unfortunately, when we test single audit, since we don't look at everything and we're sampling, we are required, unfortunately, to test if we have 1 exception that is considered a finding. So it's unfortunately pretty black and white. We haven't had any issues in the past with you all. You guys aren't, you don't have material weaknesses or anything with the program. So in the past, I think you guys have really kept a clean shop, and this is a very unusual circumstance. With that, there was a corrective action put in place to keep this from occurring in the future. Just an additional control that was put in place by Teresa and her team. So that was sort of that corrective action that I had talked about earlier. But that was pretty much the 1 exception that we found with the Housing Choice Voucher Program. With that being said, we do look at a lot. I think Paula can attest to that. We look at, I think probably over 200 files that we look through on doing different tests. So although this is a finding, I would say that, with the number that we look at, that it isn't anything major. All right. And then here we have some just overall auditor communication or governance communication that is required. I'm not sure if you all can see this. Let me zoom in a little bit. So overall, we really kind of already referred to what our responsibilities are. We do a risk-based approach. So we don't look at everything. So there's always the possibility there are things that we're unaware of. With that being said, we do get the rep letter from management to say, everything that we asked for was full and complete and included everything. As far as our scope and the timing of the audit, we had no changes in our planned scope. And kind of shockingly, even though there was COVID, we had no changes in the timing of our audit. And then there were no new accounting policies implemented in fiscal year 20. Again, because of COVID, a lot of those GASBs that were going to be implemented either this year or in the next year have actually been delayed 12 months. So those are all being pushed forward a little bit. As far as estimates, we do look at management estimates to make sure that they're reasonable. The most significant estimate of the housing authority would be the accounts receivable allowance. So we do review to make sure that methodology is consistent, that it makes sense, and that it's supported. As far as the disclosures, all of those major disclosures that I talked about earlier, we review them to say that they're neutral, consistent, and clear. No significant changes in comparison to the prior year. As far as difficulties, no significant difficulties. I would say no difficulties at all. No disagreements with management. And to our knowledge, management did not consult with any other accounting firms during the audit. And then just some other items. As far as corrected misstatements, there were none. No adjustments that we gave to the housing authority to post to their trial balance. And there were no uncorrected misstatements, meaning there weren't any misstatements that we were aware of that management decided not to correct. And then the management representations I mentioned earlier, that rep letter will be kind of the last step for Teresa to sign right before issuance. All right. All right, and then good segue, our next steps, we'd say that we have the REACT submission, so that audited REACT submission, and then also the federal audit clearinghouse submission. Those are your two final submissions, and those actually are not due technically until, is it June 30th. They're not due technically until June 30th, 2021. So yeah, you have a lot of time, but we're obviously going to get that done before then. Teresa says it's much before then. So that's really all we have, unless there's any questions for us. Again, huge thank you to both teams, the finance team and also the Section 8 department. We know we asked for a lot, even remotely we asked for a lot, so we appreciate the quick responses. I think this is the only agency where if we ask a question, we get less than a 24-hour turnaround. So if the audit's delayed, it's always on us. So that's everything I have, unless there's any questions.
Hey, Justin, this is Jim Bolte. Justin, Mandy, thank you very much. Depreciation, is it based on 7 years depreciation or some other term?
It depends on the type. So your equipment, your buildings, I'm not sure if your vehicles are separated out differently off the top of my head. That is all within the footnote 1, Mandy. I'm not sure if you have the statements, if you're searching for them, what the specific useful lives are.
Yeah, I think it's page 21. I don't know. My stuff will be one page off.
I'm not sure if you guys can still see my screen. Let's see. So, all right, give me just a second.
Right there, his back.
Yeah, right here. So for buildings and improvements from 15 to 30, and then the furniture, fixtures, and equipment from 5 to 7. So it depends on the type of capital asset.
Okay, thank you. And then just one more question: the significant deficiency, HQS enforcement. Can you just tell me more about that, or?
Yeah, sure. So part of what we look at, so when we're testing the tenant files, we look at annual inspections, saying, okay, we selected 40 tenants that are in the program. Did they have an HQS inspection of their unit during the year? And when we looked at that, everything was clean. We had no issues. The other side of that, another piece of the testing is over HQS enforcement. So we select 40 failed inspections. So the authority provides us of a population of all inspections that failed during the fiscal year. We select those, we look at the failed inspection, the reason for the failed inspection, and we verify that the authority took the proper steps to enforce landlord obligations and family obligations, meaning we then look at the past inspection saying, okay, was the unit re-inspected within a timely basis? If the reason for the inspection was not corrected within a timely fashion, was the housing assistance payment abated? Or was the tenant contract with the tenant terminated within a reasonable time? So we kind of take a look at that from a couple different angles. I know I just said a lot, so basically kind of summarize that. We look at any inspection that failed and said, okay, did the authority do what it's supposed to do? And there's, depending upon what type of failed inspection, the authority responsibilities are sometimes a little bit different. So this is one of our more complicated tests. In this situation, what we were looking at is a tenant fail, and in this situation, the contract, the HAP contract with the tenant was terminated, and they did leave the program. It was just the other side that we were looking at, that the housing assistance payment continued subsequent to that. The good news with that is that since the contract was terminated, that the authority is recouping that payment from the landlord. It was a landlord that has more than one payment. I think they have a batch payment of multiple tenants. So it was just something that kind of slipped under the radar. I think Teresa might be able to give a little more information, but I believe moving forward that there was a control implemented to catch that.
So a housing assistance payment continued to be made and it shouldn't have been made. And we have implemented a countermeasure to prevent that in the future. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Thank you, sir, for that presentation. And
thank you all. We appreciate it. Hopefully next year we'll be able to see you all in person.
All right.
All right.
All right. Next up.
Okay, the next item. Thank you, Justin, Mandy, and Will. We really appreciate it. I did not send out this draft to the board of the audit. They will get the final report, and we will send that to you via email, that you'll get the final report after we complete all our steps. But anyway, I'm glad that audit has been completed. Of course, the finding, that hurts, but we put in the corrective action plan that Paula, as the director of the department, will implement, and we will move forward hopefully next year not having any findings. Of course, that's the goal. But the good thing about an audit is that it does bring to your attention when you do something incorrectly, even though we strive for perfection every day in this department. And Dr. Smith, did you see that net income on the financial statement?
I did, absolutely.
All right. All right, well, moving forward to my second item. To act on a resolution requesting the approval to increase Huntsville Housing Authority small purchase threshold. The Office of Management and Budget has implemented statutory changes to increase the small purchase threshold for housing authorities. Specifically, Section 806 of the National Defense Authorization Act raised the small purchase threshold from $100,000 to $250,000. These thresholds were effective June 20th, 2018. The purpose of our action is to increase the HHA procurement policy small purchase threshold from $100,000 to $250,000, and to increase the procurement approval threshold for the executive director from $20,000 to $50,000. OMB has implemented statutory changes to increase the small purchase threshold for housing authorities. The economic impact, there's none at this time. The attachments have been provided for you for your review of OMB, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and the HHA procurement policy. So I'm asking for you to approve the increase in the small purchase and also to increase the executive director with resolution 2020-34. If you have any questions, I'll take those at this time. No?
I don't have any questions, but I will say for the visitors that we have online, we do have a meeting before this actual meeting, and we actually take the time to look at some of the items more in depth. So just so those that are visiting don't think that we're just pushing along, I just wanted to highlight the fact that we have a pre-board prior to this. But I don't have any questions. Okay, if there are no other questions of the commissioners, I'd like to accept a motion for approval of resolution 20-34.
I'd like to move to approve the again, I like
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I think Dick is still trying to, Dick can't hear you, still. Can't hear you.
Oh, so Dick second?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Are there any nays? Are there any nays? Motion carries.
All right, my next item, thank you so much, I appreciate that. My next item is to present the financial statements as of June 30th, 2020. Beginning with page 1, overall total revenue is at 26.78. As stated in the past at other tenant charges, we weren't charging late charges at that time. We had an adjustment, so we net to tenant charges revenue of $25. Moving forward to administration, advertising and marketing, legal expense, and other administrative costs. These are being underutilized at the time of this financial as of June 30th. As we know, the Housing Authority is back, and we've all been brought back into the office, and we'll be moving forward with being able to utilize the dollars to service our residents. Moving forward to the second page of your financial, under tenant services other, this increase in cost is due to the relocation of tenants due to the radon remediation plan in the amount of $21,000 at $21,855. This wasn't anticipated when we completed the budget for 2021. Also moving down the page to materials, this is also due to the underutilization because of the current pandemic. If we move forward to page 3 of the financials under collection loss, the first quarter, the board approved $17,486.40 of write-offs, and that is offset by our collections in MIS collections and residents paying past due amounts of $20,846.40. So moving to the bottom of the page at this present time, we have an increase in our net position of $868,864 in comparison to a net loss of $400,174. You also have attached a project-based revenue and expense summary where all of the sites are currently favorable in budget. If you see an unfavorable variance, that means that we're only 3 months into the budget. And of course, that site has not attained that level of revenue yet. So anyway, that's my presentation, and thank you so much. And I'm done.
Thank you, Teresa. At this time, Danielle Thomas will make a presentation. Danielle?
Hi, good afternoon. I have one item to present before the board today. It is to act on a resolution authorizing the executive director to enter into contract for radon testing services. In May 2020, Huntsville Housing Authority issued a request for proposals for radon testing services of public housing properties. These services will be needed as HHA seeks to identify units within its portfolio with elevated radon levels and implement mitigation strategies as identified by radon professionals. In order to foster competition, HHA's procurement officer took numerous steps in order to get interest from varying radon professional companies, including extending the submission due date of the RFP 3 times with a final submission due date of July 2nd, 2020. HHA received 5 proposals from 5 companies by the deadline. Those companies are Terrell Technical Services, GLE Associates Incorporated, Partner Engineering and Science Incorporated, Affordable Services Incorporated, and Brickley Plumbing and Electric Incorporated. Based upon the evaluation results, Partner Engineering and Science Incorporated was deemed the most responsive bidder. The most responsive proposer. The cost of these radon testing services should not exceed $93,345, and those costs will be paid for out of operating funds. At this time, it is therefore the recommendation of the executive director that HHA enter into contract with Partner Engineering and Science Incorporated to provide radon testing services for public housing units for an amount not to exceed $93,345. Are there any questions at this time?
There are no questions at this time. I entertain a motion to approve resolution 2020-35.
Thank you, Danielle. I'll move to approve resolution 2020-35.
I like to second that motion.
Okay, that sounded like a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle, for your report.
Mr. McGinnis, do you have any executive director comments at this time?
I just want to say thank you again for the board believing in me to continue this race. I want to thank all of our staff members for also being here, and I'm just hoping we'll continue to move forward and doing the great work for the residents that we serve. I wanted to also address Shaquila. She had asked a question on Thursday about the lawn care, especially over in Northwoods, but on Friday, I think it was, we were able to award a new contract for lawn care service in Northwoods. Hopefully that those 2 companies, actually, we have one for Northwood Addition and one for Northwoods. They will be able to start on sometime this week to go ahead and start the process of getting that property back up and going. And hopefully what that will do will encourage other contractors to stay on top of their game and kind of stay ahead of what needs to be done for those properties so that they can get back into good standing. So wanted to make sure we address that and let you all know that we have identified 2 new contractors and they will get on that property this week. That's the goal. And that's all I have.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you, Tom.
thank you for that, sir.
Thank you.
I was notified earlier that we don't have any public comments. So at this time, I'll take any comments from or concerns from the commissioner.
Yeah, this is Dale Smith here. If I may, Commissioner Sullivan, just quickly, just want to talk about my excitement of taking the baton from you, Chairman Sullivan, and carrying on the great work of the Housing Authority. I appreciate learning the process that that we've gone through thus far. I think I was appointed in January of 2018, if my memory serves me correctly, and since that time, it's been a learning process. I think easily every single day there's something new going on with the Housing Authority. So my hat's off to you, Chairman Sullivan, for your leadership that you've exhibited over the past year. I appreciate that. I've been sitting back, watching and learning and taking notes. And so I will try to fill your very big shoes. I'm sure that's probably about a size 14 at least, right? But the other part of that too is just to say that I'm excited about working with Executive Director McGinnis and just sitting back and watching his leadership of the Housing Authority and where he's taking things in a new direction. Just happy to be here to provide support and work with him in the process. And Commissioner Bolte, you being Vice Chair, please understand that I would like for you to be involved in this whole process every step of the way. I love how meticulous you are in reading documents and asking questions, and that can only help us when it's all said and done. Because at the end of the day, the job of this board is to ensure that we are dotting our I's and crossing our T's when it comes to ensuring that we're fulfilling our mission while doing it in a way where we're meeting the requirements that HUD and other regulatory agencies provide to us. So appreciate you as well. And to the entire staff and team at the Housing Authority, specifically this leadership team, Mr. McGinnis, that you have working for you, I think they are absolutely top notch, without a doubt. No matter what questions we throw at them, and we do throw some questions at them, they have answers or they get answers for us. And so very appreciative of that as we move forward. And so as we move throughout the year and we start thinking about things like strategic planning and how we can really elevate the Housing Authority to the next level, I'm just excited about the team that we have, both commissioners that we have, as well as our executive director and our staff and the leadership team. So thank you for the opportunity and I'm looking forward to it. That's all. So thank you.
Mr. Bolte?
Yeah, this is Jim Bolte. Sorry, I need to apologize for being so detail oriented. I know that drives you crazy, and I'll try to back off a little bit. But I too want to echo Dr. Smith's congratulations, number one, to Mr. McGinnis. I think it's been well deserved, well earned, and I look forward to working with you in your new role and in my new role. Even Dr. Smith's performance as the vice chairman is going to be a hard shoes to fill. So, but I will do my best. So I look forward to it. And Chairman Sullivan, thank you very much for your leadership. I'm still the rookie on this team, and just want to thank you for leading us towards some good results. Certainly also led by the staff. Great staff. You guys are just so much fun to work with. I look forward to seeing you again and shaking your hand someday. But it's a great team. I look forward to it. And like I said, I'll do my best to play my role well. And thank you for the nomination, Commissioner Willie. Thank you very much.
All right. Mr. Fountain or Shaquilla, you have anything?
No, I don't have anything. I would just like to thank everybody. Appreciate it.
right. I just want to thank the staff. I've actually been the chairman for the last 2 years, which has been a blessing, to be honest with you. I've learned a lot. I've got to work with some great people. As I tell folks all the time, we probably have, without telling the age and time of the folks that we have in the organization, well over 80 years of experience when you combine them all together. So there's really not a lot of concerns from me when it comes to the daily operations. And I think you all know that. But I will say this. Jim and Dr. Smith about to wear y'all out. I just okay, I had to get that out. I'm sorry. But yes, once again, if you could, please tell the staff. I'll probably make my rounds to the folks, the local folks, or the boots on the ground to say thank you for a job well done. Well, I know I will. A lot of them know me when I'm coming, so I'll make sure I tell them myself thank you for the efforts that they have parted. So without anything else, if no one else has any questions or concerns, I'd like to say, Dr. Smith, take it and do great things, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Delvin.
All right, well said.
All right.
Y'all have a good one.
All right, everybody be safe, please.
All right. All right.
Thank you all.